Vancouver's downtown east side is one of the poorest neighborhoods in the city. It is transient and is often a place where the city's most vulnerable seek support within their own community. It's also a place where many young Indigenous women and those working in the intimate trade have gone missing without notice for decades. And while most are familiar with one of the East Side's most notorious serial life takers, Robert Pickton, I want to talk about the Alley murders, a time between April 1988 and August 1990 when 6 bodies were found in the back alleys of Vancouver. In this episode, we're going to discuss 2 of the victims who are currently on the VPD's cold case site. Before we dive into this one, please note that we are going to be discussing intimate work, drug use, and people's lives being taken. So if that's something that you can't handle right now, I totally understand, and I will catch you in the next one. 21-year-old Lisa Gavin didn't have the best start to life. She was born in a prison hospital, addicted to substances. Her mother had been both a dealer and a user. Lisa was placed with the Turlings, a family of 6 who lived on a farm in Richmond when she was only a few months old. She was loved by her older siblings. They said she was a funny kid who loved growing up on the farm with all their animals, especially the horses. She lived with the Turlings until her 9th birthday when the Ministry of Social Services decided to place her back with her biological mother after she had finished her latest drug trafficking sentence. Not only was Lisa placed back with a woman who had been in and out of jail for years due to drug use, but Lisa's brother Jerry was one of the leaders of the Clark Park Gang, one of the most notorious park gangs of the 60s, 70s, and 80s that terrorized the city and were at the heart of the Chuck Berry and Rolling Stone riots. Lisa was quickly swept up into the lives of her biological family, and by her early teens, she was actively using. She would still return to the Richmond farm looking to clean up her life. The Turlings always let her know that she could come home. Lisa had been working as an intimate worker to support her addiction and had gone out one night to get enough money to help her buy some snow. Her sister Sharon had seen her on the corner of Main and Hastings while she had been out picking her husband up from work. It wasn't Lisa's usual corner. She usually hung out around East Broadway and Prince Albert Street. Cheryl circled back to pick her little sister up, but by the time she got to the corner, Lisa was gone. Her body was found in a lane behind Knight Street and East 49th on August 13, 1988. 6 weeks after Lisa was found, another body was found. This time it was Lisa's best friend, 25-year-old Glenna Sowen. Glenna was an Indigenous woman from High Prairie, Alberta, and would frequent the Broadway Strip where she both lived and worked. Like Lisa, Glenna had been working in the intimate trade and had an addiction to snow. She would often stay with Lisa and another friend, Tracy Chartrand. Glenna's friends called her Dusty. She was a little bit of a thing, only 5'2" and around 90 pounds. Glenna was found on September 30th, 1988 behind a house on West 24th Avenue in the weeds after being beaten and strangled. She left behind a 4-month-old daughter who was living with her mother in Alberta. The other women who had been found in the back alleyways of Vancouver were 28-year-old Rose Minnie Peters, 25-year-old Tracy Lee Chartrand, 33-year-old Frances Annie Grant, and 19-year-old Karen Taylor. Police would go on to learn how the women were connected and would eventually follow a lead to a rooming house in Mount Pleasant that would ultimately lead them to solving the case, and yet Lisa and Glenna's files still sit on the VPD's cold case site. This was an excerpt from this week's episode of A Real Cult Classic, the podcast I share with my friend, your friend, called Elder Auntie Amy. To hear more about this case as well as Amy's case of Melanie Ethier, tune in to episode number 3 wherever your favorite podcasts are sold. We really appreciate your support and thank you for listening. Good day and may the cult be with you.